Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Kunja Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Giri Baradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Giri Baradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Giri Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Peri Vajakacharya Stotra Tad Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Peri Vajakacharya Stotra Tad Srimad Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Gaura Premanandi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Nasta Prayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Om Gyanatimrandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raganathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adigora Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Gayate Girim Yat Kripatam Ham Vande Shri Gurum Dina Taranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sad. So I normally like to have a little more time to prepare. So forgive me if this is a bad class, because I'm not a very strong devotee just giving class out of nowhere. But devotees are, as we were just saying, they're Kripa Sindhu, they're oceans of mercy, and so thank you for giving the mercy of sitting and hearing something from me, and therefore helping me be becoming my patita pavan, because I'm fallen, and then but if I have an opportunity to do something like this, then it can help uplift me, because Shravanam, Kirtanam are two of the main things to help us get out of this Kali Yuga, get out of this material world. And as we all know, this very special day is coming up, Janmāstami. So I like this. This is different than previous years. We're setting the mood. I think for every major festival, we should definitely do this. For the few days before, or at least the day before, just having more and more kata, so then when the day comes, your consciousness is kind of already there. It's like said, if you go somewhere, you normally go there with your mind first. Someone tells you about something, then you think about it, and then finally you make plans, and then the day of your departure comes, and then you go, and then it happens. And so this makes it easier to get deeper when we're on the day of, because there sometimes can be a lot of stuff, especially on Janmāstami. We have a lot of stuff going on, big festivals. And so, thank you, Prabhu Vishnu, for doing that. Is that your idea, to have these classes before Balaram Purnima and this? No, okay. Hadai, where's Hadai? That's one. I would like Hadai to be here if he's not doing anything better. If someone can message him or call him. Okay, so Janmāstami. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhutanam dharmasya tadatmanam sujamyaham. Krishna is saying to Arjuna, he's finally in the 4th chapter, it's called Transcendental Knowledge. Krishna is revealing a lot of transcendental knowledge about himself, especially in the beginning of chapter 4. And there's these few key verses that you probably heard millions of times, but it's good to hear them. They're good to eternally hear. And so, yada yada hi dharmasya glani, dharmasa glani. When dharma is down, then Krishna comes to reestablish it. He comes himself. So we're talking about Janmāstami, where Krishna was born on the Astami, which is the 8th day of, I don't know, is it waxing or waning moon? Let's see. We're Krishna Paksha, so we're going to waning moon. Well, Krishna, yeah, of course it's the Krishna Paksha. And then the Radharani is born, and the Astami of the Gaura Paksha right after that. So that makes sense. And so Janmāstami, so on the 8th day of the dark moon, or I guess, yeah, it was Purnima, and now it's waxing, or now it's waning, and it's going to be the empty moon, Amavasya, after this. So in between Amavasya and the full moon, Amavasya means no moon, then we have Astami, and that's when Krishna was born. And so he's making his appearance. So why is he making his appearance? He makes his appearance in many different ways, but we can talk about how he appeared in, let's see if I can get this pulled up on my laptop, how he appeared in Vrindavan, in Mathura, around 5,000 years ago. Because Dharmasaglani, the tides were changing, the demigods were losing on their battlefront, so to speak. There's always an eternal battle going on between the demigods and the demons. Basically, everyone's trying to enjoy in their own way, And there's some people that are trying to enjoy in the way that God created this world. Krishna says, I made this world, I made sacrifice. And if you worship the demigods and properly do sacrifice, then you can enjoy and make the most out of this world. This whole world exists because Rasa Vaisa, the living entities want to enjoy, and some of the living entities are in the position where they're trying to enjoy separate from Krishna. So this material world is for those living entities. And then amongst those you have the demons and demigods, the suras and the asuras. So the suras, Krishna made a bunch of rules for how you can enjoy in this world so it can not pull you down, and it can actually help you get to real enjoyment, real happiness, which is ultimately serving with Him eternally. Because by constitutional position, we're not meant to be independent enjoyers. But Krishna is very merciful, so he lets the conditioned soul do whatever he wants, and he gives them guidelines. And if they follow those guidelines, and they understand there's God and they want to follow God, Shri Shri Radha Govinda ki jai, Gauritai ki jai, Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. If they follow these guidelines, then they're considered suras, or Prabhupada says demigods, or godly, God-fearing. And so that's, many people are like that. Then you have the asuras, who in different ways, either they don't think Krishna is there, or they just think Krishna is not the supreme, that they're the supreme, or that since Krishna's not there, there's no God, there's no one actually in control, everything just happens by random chance, like Krishna is saying in chapter 16, they can just do whatever they want. They can make whatever crazy plan they want to kill their enemies, to take all their money, to just increase their enjoyment, and they try to enjoy without any rules, like the famous Aleister McCrowley, or the Satanists. They say, do what thou will. Like, just do what you want, which is basically, that's like the slogan of the demons. Just what by any means necessary, do whatever you want. And if there's another demon that can help you, work together and do what you want with him. And then as soon as you're in the right position, slit his throat and take everything he's got and keep enjoying, whatever you can do. And so that's the other, I don't know if it's split half and half, but that's the eternal struggle. Because if you're playing some game, like this whole world is like some game, and then someone just tries to win and cheat by any method, it's annoying. So you have the people that play by the rules, and you have the people that cheat. You have the demons who cheat all the time, and you have the demigods who try to play by the rules. And they're constantly fighting because the demigods want to play by the rules and follow Krishna, and so they're protected by that. But then sometimes the demons get a certain amount of karma they're able to actually enjoy, and they're able to defeat the demons. And so Krishna says in the 14th chapter, they got the three modes that they're constantly struggling with each other: the mode of ignorance, the mode of passion, and the mode of goodness. Generally, the demigods are considered in the mode of goodness, and you have demons that are in different, like you have daityas, like Hiranyakashipu, and Prahlad Maharaj was born in there, and they're or like Kuvera is another example. They're in the mode of passion. They really just want to enjoy it. Then you have other demons that are in the mode of ignorance, like the snake, Kaliya, or different kinds of people who want to maybe worship the goddess Kali in her very tamasic form, that just want destruction. They don't care about even necessarily enjoyment. Like there's people that they enjoy pain, which is kind of like an oxymoron, but they enjoy suffering. And so that's just complete tamasic. Krishna explains what is tamasic, what is mode of ignorance, as when you just see the world in the opposite way that it actually is. Like everything that you think and everything that you perceive and everything that you're acting is really the opposite to reality. Somehow you've gaslit yourself into doing that. So when dharma sa glani, yada yada hi dharma sya glani bhavati bharata, when dharma is noticed to be waning, then Krishna comes to correct it. He comes to dharma sanstapan artaya. He comes to actually remake the proper dharma, and he comes himself, or he has so many different avatars, and he empowers living entities. So he's constantly, Krishna is one of his expansions is of the maintainer, the guna avatar of the mode of goodness, which represents maintenance over everything. So general maintenance means just making sure the demons don't go too far, and also that the demigods get checked in their own way. If you're a sura, if you're trying to enjoy in this material world, and you want something good, then you follow the rules, you do your karma kanda, you do nice deeds to other people, and generally you help other people fulfill their things, and by doing that enough, you have a good enough punya, pious credit, good karma, and then you can take a vacation. You can get out of the game for a while and go and enjoy in not the spiritual world, but it's like a facsimile of the spiritual world in the land of the demigods, and there's wonderful gardens, and you live forever, and there's plenty of beautiful people and delicious food, and all your needs are met, except there's a few things. One is that the demons are also trying to enjoy there, so occasionally you have to, with your extremely strong body, you have to go fight the demons, which are also extremely strong, and it becomes hasslesome. And also then, at one point, you're like this garland. At one point, this garland will wither away. So every demigod has some sort of garland on them. And when the time of their punya, their bank account runs to low, like if I was going to take a vacation to like Mexico or something like that and go stay at a resort, then every day they're charging me so much money. Eventually, my bank account may get dry. I mean, if you're Bill Gates, it may take a long time. But it's like they're all more wealthy than Bill Gates, and they're all just staying at a resort. But eventually, the billions of dollars runs out, and you have to go make more money. So the garland dries out, it falls off, you realize, okay, this is it, and you come back down. Krishna says, Kshine punye martya lokam vishanti, that they return, when their punya is finished, they return to martya lok, which this means the place of death. Like one of the main disturbances to everyone's enjoyment here is death. Because even if you are Bill Gates and you can go to a resort in Mexico and you have billions of dollars and it only costs you whatever, $1,000 a day to enjoy, I mean, he doesn't have enough life to actually enjoy that. So Krishna comes to check that. In the next verse, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya tradushkritam dharma sanstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. And so he's coming to maintain things and reestablish dharma. He's also the main reason that he comes, and the main reason that he really comes, like we see he's come on the altar here. So why did he come? Paritranaya sadhunam, to deliver the sadhus. Sad is a verb in Sanskrit that means to attain. And so sadhana is like a method to attain something, or sadhaka or sadhu are ones who are trying to attain something. So those, and it generally means something good. You're trying to attain something good. And so the best thing to attain is to attain the eternal happiness, which is in the spiritual world. And so generally those who are attaining that, or have already attained that, are called sadhus. And so paritranaya sadhunam, to deliver them, Krishna appears to them. So specifically Radha Govinda, Krishna has appeared because of Srila Prabhupada and his devotees and their will to serve. And even continuously, as we serve Radha Govinda here in the temple, Radha Govinda can reciprocate, and they can appear more. Krishna is ever unlimitedly expanding, and what to speak of ever expanding, like as himself, he hasn't revealed himself fully to each and every one of us. So the more that each and every one of us try to come together and serve him, the more that he can collectively and individually reveal some more of himself to us. And so that's one reason, that's the main reason why he actually descends, to reciprocate with his devotees. Because when you become his devotee, then you become in separation of him. Because you find out that Krishna is so wonderful, you never want to not have him by your, within your consciousness, within your heart, or even associating with him. Like if you're Srila Prabhupada, who came from the spiritual world, of course he's with Krishna every moment in his heart, but then he writes, how I wish I was back there in Goloka, like with you. So Prabhupada's in deep separation. So Krishna comes to pacify that separation. Krishna is the bringer of supreme peace. Krishna talks about his own appearance, Janma karma chame divyam, that his janma is divyam, his janma, his birth, is divyam, is transcendental. So, like, when Krishna was born, it said it's like the moon rising out of the ocean. So if you see the full moon and you're on a cruise ship or something like that, which I doubt any of us have been in a cruise ship seeing the full moon, or maybe Prabhu Vishnu has. It looks like the ocean is, the moon is coming out of the ocean. Maybe it's even dripping with water, just because of our imperfect senses. That's how we perceive that kind of angle of the gigantic planetary motions. And so that's how it said Krishna appeared from Vasudeva and Devaki, or Mother Yashoda. But it's not the same as of us appearing out of some womb, where we're forced by material circumstance to appear, and then we appear, and then we're forced by our karma to have certain circumstances, and we don't really have so much control. The most thing we really have control of is how we react to different circumstances. Whereas Krishna, it's the opposite. He has full control over everything. He even has control over things that shouldn't have, that are inconceivable to control. Whatever he desires, no matter how ridiculous it would be, he can just have it done. It can just get done. He has all the Shaktis, all the powers, everything. And so when he appears, it's just for Paritanaya Sadhanam, just to, for those sadhus that are already pure devotees, that are in separation of Krishna, to relieve their separation, but also for all sadhus, all ones that are trying to attain the highest thing. He's there to give them a chance, to give them peace, to stop the disturbances. Like Krishna says, Bhoktaram Jagitapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gyapamam Shantam Richate. So for the person, for the Sura or Asura, it doesn't matter, anyone in the material world that's trying to enjoy, they will get disturbed. And if you're getting disturbed all the time, then how can you actually enjoy? Krishna says this, if you don't have peace, then without peace there's no question of happiness. But Krishna, he's saying, I want you, if you know me, if you understand who I am and the relationship you have with me, you can actually start to have peace, real peace, and you can actually start to have real bliss, real ananda. You can find that ananda, which is the whole driving force behind your existence. And so, Bhoktaram Jagatapasam. So we're always disturbed because I want to enjoy something, but even in my enjoyment, I'm disturbed because I'm not, like I was saying in the beginning of the class, as spirit souls, we're constitutionally not independent enjoyers. It doesn't matter how much pizza and ice cream Prabhu Vishnu makes for me. I can really only eat 4 or 5 slices in a bowl or 2. I mean, depending how big I could eat more. Let's say I eat 20 slices, then I'm not going to be able to enjoy. I'm going to suffer like anything. And so many people are suffering. Someone was just telling me they have diabetes. I was making some milkshake and telling them, oh yeah, it's very good. It's with dates and this and that. And they're like, oh, dates? I can't even have dates because I have diabetes. So because diabetes just becomes, maybe from some previous karma, but generally speaking, it comes because we have too much sugar and then our blood loses the ability to digest the sugar. And because we enjoyed too much, then we have to enjoy less later. And so we just by enjoying causes suffering and disturbance. So we can't really enjoy. So that disturbs anyone's trying to enjoy right off the bat. And then what to speak of, okay, we have something, we want to try to enjoy it, but since maybe I don't have enough money, or I don't have the right circumstance, I don't have a peaceful place to be able to actually eat the ice cream or do whatever I want to do. Or even I try to get the ice cream, someone steals it from me. I'm not actually the controller or the owner. So then I'm getting disturbed so much by not being able to actually control those things which will actually give me enjoyment. Oh, I want the actual nice car. I want the Bentley or the Mercedes or the, something expensive. I don't want this Honda Accord. But I'm forced by circumstance because I don't control the planet. I don't control things enough that I'm forced to do that. And it's a matter of great pride when people can manifest their wealth, usually the demons through cheating people. They get so much wealth and then they get some wonderful thing, make some gigantic building or have some really expensive fleet of cars. And so because we're not the controllers, we also get disturbed. We're not the enjoyers, we get disturbed, we're not the controllers. And then the hardest thing in this world, one of the hardest things is to actually find a real friend. A real friend is just someone who has your interest in mind when they're interacting with you. But usually it's kind of like, okay, I'm your friend because you fill this need in my life and I fulfill that need in your life because you're scratching my back and I'm scratching your back. Therefore, it's compatible. But if it doesn't become compatible, then I don't really want anything to do with it. And most people are superficial friends like that. But even if we found that rare friend that will stick with us through thick and thin and do everything, if they don't actually have resources to help us or ability to actually do good for us, then what also is the use of that friendship? If just someone has only goodwill for you, I mean, that's nice, but it ultimately doesn't do very much. So Krishna's telling, so all these things are very disturbing. We can't find friends, we can't enjoy, we don't control everything. So we're always disturbed, we're never peaceful, we can't be happy. So Krishna can make us happy because he's actually the enjoyer of everything. Krishna can enjoy unlimitedly, which is the reason why it's pacifying for the soul is because the soul, it needs to do something eternally and unlimitedly. But we can't enjoy eternally or unlimitedly. But we can serve unlimitedly. Like the service of the soul can constantly be refined and increased to an unlimited degree in whatever kind of service they're doing. Like right now they're packing cookies or cooking Rajbhog. So the quality of the cooking, there's no ceiling because you can make the best thing ever, and then the next day you can make a few slight changes, and it'll also be the best thing ever. And you can always think of how can I make it variegated and delicious and healthy and all these different things, and getting the best ingredients. And there's never going to be a point where like, all right, this is the most best possible thing we could do, and we can never top it again tomorrow. Where in the spiritual world, they can constantly do that. I mean, even in the material world, it would take our whole life, and we probably will never, once you get to the point, okay, we have all these things, but we need this. Okay, then we need money to get this. Oh, then we need this. And you can always increase it. Okay, we're giving out cookie prasadam that's packed in little cellophane things. Okay, we're giving out 100 per day. But why not 1,000? Why not 10,000? So like that, we can always increase our service in multifarious ways. And what to speak of when we have actual spiritual Shakti, spiritual potency, spiritual reality that we're existing in to be able to serve Krishna eternally. So that's very pacifying, that Krishna is the unlimited enjoyer. Then Krishna, he's also the controller of everything. So anyone that tries to steal from us, or anyone tries to do anything, Krishna is actually in control of it. And Ishavashamidam sarvam yat, what is it? Ishavashamidam sarvam yat kincham jagatyam jagat tena bhaktena bunchita magrid kasya swedanam. Because Krishna controls everything, and he's actually the well-wisher of everyone. He will give out what people need properly. He'll make that arrangement. So if people are suric, they're being suras, They're going towards Krishna's plan. They know that everyone has their quota, and they try to realize what is that quota and make sure that it's distributed accordingly. So Krishna can actually, unlike a demon just gets all the resources and they will restrict the resources to be able to try to control everyone. Where Krishna actually already owns all the resources, he doesn't need them for himself. When we offer the prasadam, Krishna already owns everything. He already owns all the earth on the land. He owns all the farms and all the vegetables that get produced from those farms. And he owns the trucks that transport them. And he owns the knives and the cutting boards that we cut them on. And he owns the gas and the stove and the pot and the ghee and the spices. And he owns the tray that we offer him on. And he owns everything already. So he doesn't need anything. But he likes our love that we offer with that. So this is very pacifying to the soul that Krishna actually controls everything. And like I'm saying, Krishna is Suridam Sarvabhutanam. He's actually the best friend of everyone. It's considered a good friend if they're with you through thick and thin. If they've seen you at your worst and they still stick around with you, they know all your flaws. People will reminisce with their friendships. Yeah, man, you were with me through the worst, and you're such a good friend. And so that's rare. That's nice if we have that. Well, Krishna has been with us through everything. As Paramatma, he's experiencing everything that we've gone through. And he knows our deepest flaws and our deepest desires. And actually, he's always trying to fulfill our desires and eliminate our faults. That's all he's doing. And as soon as if we just agree to do it his way, then he has the best possible, easiest way to accomplish that. But it takes a lot of realization. So that's why Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate. Buddha bhava, what? Iti matva bhajante mam Buddha bhava samanvitaha. That those who actually know that Krishna is in control of everything, that Krishna is creating everything, that everything comes from him, and that he's Suridam Sarvabhutanam, they actually has our best interest, they begin to actually worship him with love, and they can actually take to his instructions. They can actually listen. Chaita Guru is in everyone's heart, kind of like, they say in that Upanishadic metaphor of the two birds on the tree. One bird is just looking at the other one, while the other one is trying to eat fruits and look for enjoyment, and the other one's just watching him the whole time, waiting for him to stop eating the fruits and turn back and look. And as soon as we do that, as soon as we turn back and look at Krishna, then all the different sufferings and all the disturbances that we invariably go in, Krishna can have a plan to extricate us from that. And so Krishna's appearance is for Paritranaya Sadhanam, to actually help us get rid of all our sufferings, to come into our life more. And it's divya. Like when Krishna was born, he came as completely, he came through, Krishna appeared via one of his Narayan avatar, Mahavishnu, fully with, helmet, forearms, armor, and weapons, and all these things. And then he transformed back into a baby, and then suddenly all the guards fell asleep. The cells would just open automatically, and then Vasudeva goes and the river just parts like he's Moses. Or I guess you should say Moses parted the river like he was Vasudeva. That would be the ontologically more proper way to think about it. And then, so all this is Krishna's Janma. It's like a amazing story that he makes happen. That his, Krishna's life is the most breathtaking drama. He's the ultimate Nayaka. He's the ultimate hero. And so even his birth is super epic and has all these amazing things that happen in it. And actually, Krishna's activities for the asura who's not in contact with Krishna, they have to replicate what Krishna's activities are, because we can't be without that kind of enjoyment. So that's where you get all these fantasy and comic books and movies, they're all just riffs on what Krishna's already done. Someone has a fertile brain and they're a good author, and the inspiration ultimately, like even one of my favorite shows when I was growing up was actually it was based on Hanuman. Like Hanuman had all his pastimes, and then they made the Monkey King. There's some Thailand and Eastern Asia, and then based on that, they've made like so many different like mangas and anime and all these things, and it's all just based on what Hanuman was actually doing in the pastimes of Lord Ram. And so either way, we can't get away from absorbing ourselves in the Lord. Although if we're doing it in the asuric way, it's definitely not recommended. The asuras, they get mogasha moga karma. What is it? Mogasha moga karma, moga jnana vichetasa. So moga asha, it's like we were singing Guru Puja, and the devotee's asha, heartfelt desire, hope, is that one of them, may my words become non-different from the words emanating from the lotus, or may my heart become non-different from the lotus words emanating from the lotus mouth of the lotus-like pure devotee, or the pure devotee can fulfill all the heart's desires. If our heart's desire is to actually have rasa, to actually have ananda, that means we actually have to be interacting with Krishna. And so the pure devotee, he can fulfill the desire. So that's any other desire we have is really just to have a lower form of rasa and a lower form of ananda, which Krishna has made from his various different expansions. And so it's usually not very good. So that's why it said the pure devotee can actually fulfill all the heart's desires. But Krishna doesn't like fulfilling our desires in the improper way. We may think we want something one way to get our ananda, but Krishna is very expert at tricking us. Like he tricks the demon. If the demon wants to gaslight himself into thinking that he's the controller and there's no one above him and there's no one to do anything about what he does, then Krishna lets that play out for some time. Like when some demon has enough good karma to be able to enjoy a lot and control a lot, Krishna allows that. But then Krishna stops. His appearance comes vinashaya chadushkritam. Also, when the demon has reached the end of their punya, like when the demigod has reached the end of their punya, Krishna just comes in the form of his rules that he already set apart, and he enforces it, that they fall down back into the land of death, Martya Loka. And the demon, when it comes to the point where it's not that they've reached the end of their karma, it's that they've messed up and they've messed with a devotee. And then it's actually, even whatever happens when a devotee comes to anywhere in the material world, it's good for everyone who interacts with them. Even if they do something bad, trying to hurt them, then the Lord mercifully corrects their misapprehension of reality. They think they're in control, they think they can do whatever they want, and then they mess with the devotee, then the Lord comes and shows them that, no, you're not in control, and I'm going to take away all your power and everything right now. Like death is simply everything getting taken away. Like we sleep every night and we forget about what happened, but death is like, everything gets taken away and you forget everything. And so the few different times when Krishna came and killed different demons, that's at that point in their life, they had realization. When it took a few times, but when Hiranyakashipu got killed, then he became Ravana, then he got killed, then finally as Dantavakra and Shishupal, I think Dantavakra was Hiranyakashipu. And when he was Hiranyakashipu, he's getting killed, and he's thinking, oh, damn, this is just some other stupid guy that he just did one more day of tapasya than me. Or he just did a little bit more tapasya. If I just did a little more tapasya, I could have got him. I almost had him. Like, okay, all right, next life, like I'll do it. And because when he died, he was thinking of the Lord, not in a very favorable way, but he was absorbed in the Lord. Then he got a wonderful birth as Ravan, so powerful. He controlled all the planets. He controlled everything. Not necessarily to the extent that Hiranyakashipu did, but still very amazing. Then he got lusty over over Sita Devi, and when Lord Ram was finally killing him, he was just thinking, "Oh, dang, this is just another. Maybe he didn't do more special things, but this is not anyone special that's killing me. This is just some human being that's killing me." But then finally, Dantavakra, do you remember? No, Shishupal. Shishupal, how he got killed was he was saying Krishna's names. Krishna, you're a stupid blah 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 blah. Krishna's just counting, like, you got 100. And then, every time he would say something about Krishna, he would say Krishna's name and then insult him. Oh, that Vasudeva is just a rascal, or that, so many different ways. But he was saying, because he was chanting Krishna's names, doing basically japa or harinam, he was getting purified. Then at that time, Krishna's like 99 and 100, and killed him when the Sudarshan chakra was coming at him, and he realized he had no power to do anything against it. He realized that, okay, Krishna, this is like, he's actually the most powerful person. He's the one that can fulfill all my desires. And all these things he realized, he's actually my best friend. At that point, he fully realized, then when he got killed, then he got the fortunate birth as Jagai and Madai. And through that birth, fully, achieved a lot of progress in bhakti. Or you could say they uncovered their natural state, because they're a little bit different than most people. They were actually in Vaikuntha with Narayan, and they noticed Narayan couldn't fight there, but he was like, Narayan's strong, like he needs to fight sometimes. He has some desire to do that. Like they heard Narayan saying something like, yes, I have desire to fight. So they wanted to fulfill that desire, and they said, okay, they actually prayed to the Lord, somehow or other, help us fulfill your desire to fight. And that's how they got into their sticky situation with the 4 Kumaras, and kind of insulting them and getting cursed by them. So Jagai and Madai, finally then they're uncovering, and maybe even uncovering more than just their simple Vaikuntha forms, because they're with Lord Chaitanya, who's helping them. So that's, Krishna's Janma Karma Chame Divyam, Evam Yogati Tavada Tyakvam Punarjama. If you know Krishna, if you know about how his birth is different from our birth, his activities are different than our activities, you actually know that. Like, we don't just say it with lip service, but if you actually know it, which means like it's like part of you, then what happens? You don't take another body in this material world. You don't take another body of suffering in the land of death. And Prabhupada says a few times, one time in Krishna book, he's saying that once you actually attain a high level of sadhana in this life, then when you're ready, Krishna has you born on your dress rehearsal. You get born in some universe where he's starting his pastimes, and you're born sometime around his Janmāstami. And then you can be fully trained by all his associates, and then you can go to the eternal spiritual world and just continuously go on serving him eternally in complete bliss, which is complete opposite to what's here. So, Hare Krishna, that's enough of my rambling. And if there's any more points of things or questions or comments.
Yeah, thank you for the class. It was a very nice class. It's kind of like the whole essence of Krishna, the Maniac and Asura qualities. Actually, I thought I might share this. It's really nice, something that I found yesterday in Lilamri, especially because in the beginning you were talking about Radha Govinda and this Prachanaya Saranam, how Radha Govinda are here in order to attract devotees, in order to give pleasure to us, or the devotees, and give us service to them. So I was thinking about this because I found this amazing quote in Lilamrita yesterday. It's a letter that Srila Prabhupada wrote to Brahmananda when he was visiting India for the first time, not the second time he went, but the first time he went with just a few disciples, and especially because we're going in Janmāstami and we're trying to attract people to the temple. I thought I'd read it and see what you think about it. He said, "I never thought about the audience. I was prepared to chant if there was no one to hear me. The principle of chanting is to glorify the Lord and not to attract a crowd. If Krishna hears nicely, then he will also ask some sincere devotees to gather in such a place. Therefore, be advised that thousands of centers might be started if we find out a sincere soul for each and every center. We do not require more men to start. If there is one sincere soul, that is sufficient to start a new center."
Prabhupada would say that if I had I can't remember the exact number. I've sometimes heard 7, sometimes heard something around 20. If I had, very less than 50, less than 30 even, actual pure devotees who really just, that's all they were made out of, was they wanted to fulfill his desire, he could take over the world. Very quickly. There's some things the Bhagavad Gita happened in 18 days. Arjuna conquered over the whole army of Kurukshetra, or the battlefield of Kurukshetra in 18 days. If I had one devotee for each continent, I could, that's one quote people say sometimes, I could, we could take the world in 18 days. So, one thing we can reflect on is that we can see we shouldn't get ourselves too down, but that we have a lot more room to grow, and that if we don't see Krishna consciousness growing, then it's perhaps a reflection of our own things. So that can kind of humble us. Anytime we feel we did something good, we can just kind of see the perspective, okay, well, we're not at there's always more improvement to be made, which is good. If we're actually humble, then we'll always actually be looking for ways to improve our service. Like I was saying, if Krishna can enjoy unlimitedly, so any of his services can be unlimitedly improved. And as our nature as souls, it's pacifying for us to know that we can have something that we can just keep doing. And if you just keep doing the same thing over and over again, it gets boring and hackneyed. Even the best thing, I cook you the best 5-star meal that you've ever had. If I just keep serving you that same meal every day, eventually it's going to be okay, come on, let's get something new. Even that will get old. So we can't do something, even if it's the best thing that we can possibly conceive at this moment, we can't do that for eternity. It needs to be something, otherwise it gets hackneyed. It needs to be something that can eternally and unlimitedly be increasing. So we can do the best thing, but then the next day we can top it. And we can, the reality can expand so that we can even top that. And that way we can actually live in bliss eternally. Otherwise, if we reflect on the nature of the material world, then we may become like Mayavadis or Buddhists and just say, oh, screw it all, let's become nothing. Someone's sick, and they just, okay, instead of going to the doctor and taking medicine because it's so much trouble, I'm just going to commit suicide. Then I won't have a cough anymore. It's like that. So, yeah, when are we going to become one of those 18 devotees? We should think about that and pray about that. And it shouldn't make us morose, but it should make us humble and try to improve ourselves. And if one of those 18 devotees was amongst us, would we get offended and or would we actually try to help serve them and help push that? Because a lot of the problem is if a pure devotee does come, if someone they're not a pure devotee, but they have a position in power, and that's what they kind of wanted, and then that position in power is threatened by someone who needs that position in power to be able to do their service, then it can be like a false ego thing, Prabhupada put a lot of people as temple presidents not because they were the purest devotees, but because they needed that to be able to actually engage in service. So that's something to consider. Microphone to Bhakta Phil. Welcome back, Bhakta Phil.
You said that I forget their names, the original names. They became the demons.
Jai and Vijay, yeah.
Yeah, Jai and Vijay, they became demons because they prayed for it, and then that's
Yeah,
why
exactly.
they made the offense.
They didn't, I don't know if they knew they were praying for that, but they just wanted to serve the Lord, and it ended up being this funny way. I mean, seemingly like ironic way, like, okay, the best devotees have to become demons. And the reason is because there was no demons good enough to actually fight the Lord like that. Like who can be so fixed in just their anger that they do tapasya for like whatever Hiranyakashipu did, 1,000 years of the demigod just standing on one foot and like his whole body becoming bones because an ant came and started building this hill over him, and then they just ate all his flesh and everything, and he didn't care. He just kept the position, and somehow in Satya Yuga you could still be alive if all you were was just a skeleton.
Yeah, but is it, because they were in the spiritual world and they made their offense, so do people actually make real offenses in the spiritual world, or is that just a
No,
setup?
in the spiritual world, it's just composed of like Shuddha Sattva, and so whatever they do is based on service. So like that was seemingly offense, but it was the root of it was actually service, and there's different Shaktis that are in charge of writing the script for Krishna's pastime. So who knows what kind of wonderful twists and turns and things that they can come up with. And so, but everyone in the spiritual world, they just have the desire to serve Krishna or wherever in the spiritual world they are. That's their desire, and that's like the essence of their being. Like, okay, I'm here with Nrsingadev. Nrsingadev has some planet. Everyone there is just like ecstatically absorbed in serving them. And there may be disagreements, there may be different things, but ultimately it's on that basis. And so it's extremely like blissful. And whatever, even like Krishna gets yelled at by people, Krishna gets defeated, Krishna gets all these things, but it's all based on service and love. It's not rooted in like actual animosity or offense or anything like that. It's illegal. We've gone 1 minute over the time, so sorry for not adhering to the schedule. Hari Om Tat Sat Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Pancha Kalpa Juice.